And other than that, I mean, he's testified that he's got a good relationship with the child. They do fun stuff together.
They don't have a good relationship.
Made sure that she got to school every day, and she did well in school when she was in his care at the end of last school year.
So threatening a boy with a pair of scissors is having a good, stable thing at school?
He threatened somebody with a pair of scissors?
She did.
Okay. Was it addressed?
He yelled at her about it. He didn't talk to her about it.
What the hell are you talking about?
Ma'am, that will mean that he addressed it. You just don't like the way he did it. Yeah, so you see, we're back with the final part 3. With this moron here, we're going to see how the judge decided to rule on this case. Will he allow the mother to keep primary custody and make the daughter go back to Michigan and stay with her? Or will he give primary custody to the father? One thing that we do know for sure, the child would not be able to stay in Florida with the maternal grandmother. Go ahead and take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Click that notification bell for all updates. Won't waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump back into it.
Were you there?
Yeah.
You saw it?
Because I asked her, because she came home, because that was the day, it was one of the weekends that I picked her up from him. And she's like, Mom, I had a bad day at school today. And I was like, why? What'd you do, Emma? And she goes, well, I threatened to boy with a pair of scissors. And Jacob was like,
the hearsay objection, Your Honor, still stands.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think it's really trying to prove the truth of the matter asserted.
Okay.
It certainly is what the child said, but I mean, kids do things as long as it was addressed by a parent or the parents. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. Is if your child does something wrong, you address it. I guess it all begs the question, man, why isn't the child with you? You've got custody. Why do you keep sending her off to live with other people? You sent her off for 6 months to live with dad. Now you've sent her off for the better part of a school year to live with your mom. Why is that? Why can't you take care of her?
Because I was having medical issues myself that I need to take care of myself so I can be alive for my children.
Wait, children? She has more than one? And you see how she's trying to cry again, right? That's a great question. You're supposed to be this great mother, but you keep sending the kid off to live with everybody else. By the way, she's still collecting the child support checks from him.
Do you all want me to die so that my children don't have a mom?
They already don't have a mom. You're not taking care of them.
I didn't say that. I simply asked why the child wasn't living with you. And you've told me now. I didn't make any insinuation that I wanted anything to happen to you. Simply asking questions.
Because I have medical problems that I needed to get figured out. And I'm getting them fixed. I have surgery in 2 days for them. Wait, what is today? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. In 4 days, my bad. And I don't want my children to watch me have to go through this hard situation. Because guess what? It takes a lot to fight a medical condition.
All right. So you sent the child to live with Mr. Hughes last school year. Why didn't you have him simply live with Mr. Hughes this school year?
Because he manipulates my child to where she tells me she hates me.
No, I believe your daughter told you that on her own. We can all see from the coverage in this series why she would not like you.
She has told me time after time she hates me, and it comes from her dad. That's not okay. I've never told her to ever hate her dad. When she calls him by his name, I correct her and tell her, no, that's your dad.
All right. Mr. Gould, any questions for Ms. Wing?
Just a few, Your Honor. Ma'am, you mentioned that medical issues are why you sent Emma to live with your mother in Florida. Can you explain what those medical issues are?
That's my own personal issues. I'm not telling you all my medical conditions, no.
Can you tell us what surgery you have scheduled in 4 days?
That's my personal business that nobody needs to know but me and my doctors.
So one of the best interest factors that the referee is going to analyze when determining if Jacob should have custody or if you should have custody is the medical conditions that both of you have and whether those would impact your ability to parent Emma. And it sounds like you're testifying that your medical conditions do impact your ability to parent Emma effectively. Is that correct?
No.
So the medical conditions aren't severe enough to send Emma away to Florida?
I sent Emma to Florida because at this point she needed an attitude adjustment because her dad makes her hate me, and I'm not doing it. I shouldn't have to be hated by a child that I do everything for. I do everything for this child.
First, she said she sent the daughter to Florida to go to a better school. Now she's saying that she had a bad attitude. She needed an attitude adjustment. But it's obvious that she picked up on this type of behavior from her mother. She's only mimicking her mother's behavior.
So you sent her to Florida because of an attitude adjustment, not because of your medical condition.
You are twisting my words. I'm not answering any more of your questions.
You did testify that you heard the discussion about Emma threatening a boy with scissors, correct? Ma'am? Your Honor, can you help me out here?
I'll direct you to answer the questions. If you fail to do so, I guess that's up to you, but it's not going to weigh in your favor, and I would make a decision on this matter.
He's twisting all of my words, so what's the point of answering him?
Because we're making a record here. If you want your opinion considered, offering your testimony is how you do that.
So, ma'am, I'm asking about the incident where Emma threatened the boy with scissors that you had testified to earlier, correct? Remember that?
Yep.
And is it true that you testified that it was on one of the weekends that you picked her up from Jacob's?
Yep.
So Jacob did have Emma for a period of time between January and June.
He did not have her from January until June. No, he did not have her for that whole period of time. No.
He did have her for a chunk of time then, an extended period of time that allowed you to have weekend visitations, correct?
Yeah, but it was not from January till June. I don't know where they're getting this information.
Okay.
For those of you who haven't watched the previous parts, this part is significant because the attorney just caught her slipping once again. This is her third time lying about the father having the daughter in 2022. Before this hearing, they went before another judge where she said the father had the daughter for 5 months from January till May of 2022. Then early in this hearing right here that we're watching now, she told the judge the father didn't have her at all in 2022. She said the last time he had her was 2018, 4 years before this. Now, she didn't realize that she contradicted her previous testimony once again by bringing up the story about the scissors. From the very beginning, the father maintained the same story. She dropped the daughter off to him because she could not take care of her, and he had her the full semester until June 2022, and that's when the mother wanted her back. He said over and over in 2022, he had the daughter from January to June.
And is it true, Jacob had testified earlier that after the 2018 order was entered, that you moved into his parents' house for a period of time. Is that true?
Not as long as he's saying, but yes, I did move in with his mom and his dad.
And then he also testified that you'd moved out and then you moved back into their house a second. Is that also true?
Nope.
Okay. Where are you currently living now?
Still at the same place I was when he dropped Emma Lou off.
That would be your friend Abby's house?
That's my house. Yes, I get mail there.
You say that's your house. Do you own it?
Neither of us own the house. We pay rent.
Okay. How much do you pay in rent?
I pay $550 a month plus my utilities.
Okay. And you are employed now?
Sure am.
Where are you employed at? And how many hours do you work there?
Let's see. This last week I put in the last 2 weeks I put in 93.25 hours.
A lot of hours. So do you work? I think you said at the beginning of this hearing you work third shift.
I just recently moved to third shift, but I'm going to be moving back to my original second shift.
You currently work third shift.
Yes.
And who would be babysitting Emma while you're at work? Or do you plan on leaving her in Florida?
I have friends and family that are more than willing to take care of my child, who have been a part of her life a lot longer than her dad even has.
Okay. So it's not your intention to leave her in Florida?
I mean, I want her to stay there to finish school. Yes, that is what I want. It's for
All
her
right. I have no further questions then, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Ma'am, anything else you wanted to say?
Can we talk to my mother, who's been taking care of her for the last 5 months?
You can call her as a witness if you wish.
Sure.
All right. Ms. Ryan, you need to unmute.
Unmute.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Ms. Williams, you can ask her any questions you have at this time.
Can I refer to her as my mom? Because that's what she is to me.
Fine with me.
Okay. Let's see. Has Emma's attitude been a lot better since she's been in Florida with you?
It has.
Has she been doing good in school?
She is improving.
Does she see a counselor because she has a lot of trauma from her life?
She just started seeing a counselor at school this week.
Has she told you that she doesn't want to go live with her dad?
No, Your Honor. Hearsay.
That would be a hearsay statement, so I would sustain that
I don't know.
Yep.
Am I allowed?
No.
Your Honor, am I allowed to answer that question or no?
No. Anyway, you could go inside. The wind is creating a lot of interference.
I really can't. I'm at work and we're at a park right now, so
All right.
I'll try to go somewhere better.
All right.
But go ahead. I can still talk and walk and
Before, let's put it this way. Before the court hearing for my show cause, how many times did Jacob communicate with Emma?
maybe called her 3 times before the court was brought into the whole situation.
How many times do I talk to Emma?
Almost every day.
Like, is she trying to conclude that she's a better parent because she talked to her more? Ma'am, you're supposed to be the primary parent. You're supposed to have your daughter, not send her thousands of miles away to Florida and talk to her every day.
I don't even know what else to ask because I'm so,
If anyone else would like to question me, it's fine.
All right, Mr. Gould, any questions?
Sure. Ma'am, you're living in Florida now, but you lived in, do you still have a house in Michigan, or did you live in Michigan at some point?
Yeah, we still have a house there.
Okay, and so why are you living in Florida and not in Michigan right now?
I'm a snowbird. I come down here for the winters and come up there for the summers.
Okay, so you still have your house in Michigan?
Absolutely.
And is there a reason that Kristen can't live at that house?
Nobody's living at that house. We shut it down.
Gotcha.
There's no heat, no water. You know, we closed it all down.
Sure.
But ma'am, why didn't you open it back up? You have your daughter here living on the couch and arguing with her friend. That's another reason why she wanted to send the daughter to live with you. We heard testimony that she was getting into arguments with her friend and her friend was going off on her and her daughter.
When would you, how did it come about that Emma was going to live with you down in Florida? Or I guess my question is, when you were discussing that, Was there ever an idea that you would stay in Michigan so that Emma could stay in Michigan? Maybe Emma would live with you, but it would be in Michigan?
I have a job down here that I had to come down to.
Okay.
I work here and I work there.
So you had you had to move to Florida for your job.
Well, it's not a have to. It was a choice, but
Sure.
I have employment in both places.
Okay. That's fine.
So it was for work. I come down here for work.
Right. But I just wondered if there had been any discussion about you staying in Michigan with Emma with you versus going to Florida. But there wasn't too much of a choice because of your employment.
Absolutely, right. Yep.
Ma'am, do you have any legal documents that substantiate the child being in your care?
Kristen filled out a power of attorney paper, and we had that notarized.
Okay.
And that paper was good for like 6 months.
All right. And that was sufficient for enrolling the child in school?
Absolutely. It was school, it was medical, it was everything except name change and marriage, I believe.
Okay. Did the school ask if the child had another parent who had rights?
I can't recall. I do know I gave them that paper when I enrolled her in school down here.
They didn't ask about dad though? So does she have a dad? Or
No.
does he agree?
No.
There's only one signature on the power of attorney, I'm assuming.
No, his signature wasn't on the power of attorney because Kristen had sole custody. So, I don't know, I guess misunderstanding on our part on how it all works.
And you see how this wicked system is? The school didn't even ask. The school saw one signature on the power of attorney and they didn't even ask if she had a father.
Yeah. Well, it's created quite a situation.
Yeah.
It's created kind of a bad situation because, I'm faced with
Um,
having to decide custody between two parents. Unless, like I said, I can find that they're both unwilling or incapable of caring for the child or unfit. And it appears that Ms. Williams might be incapable of caring for the child at this immediate point.
I've never
but
been
I'm not
incapable
finding-
of taking care of my child.
Well, you sent her off to live with somebody else 2 straight years now. So that shows some incapability of caring for her for whatever reason. But I'm finding that Mr. Hughes is not unwilling to care for her. He doesn't appear to be incapable of caring for her. In fact, he did for maybe not 6 months at the beginning of last year, but for some substantial period of time. And he's not unfit. So I really can't decide third party custody at this point. The law doesn't allow me to.
Your Honor, may I speak? His mother took care of Emma 90% of the time.
Your Honor, if she's going to testify to that, I'd ask for a foundation.
Yeah, you need some foundation for that, or some evidence to back it up. I mean, you're probably talking about something you heard from another person. You didn't live in a house with them, so you don't know that for a fact.
If you need me to,
he stated himself that he worked from 3:30 in the afternoon until 11 at night. Well, that's when Emma was home.
Okay. It doesn't mean he's unfit. He's
I never said he was unfit.
And she also wasn't in school at that point, so he was home with her during the day.
And
yes, she was. How was she not in
He provides
school?
other capable care for the child. That's no different than Ms. Williams. She said that she worked third shift, but she had other people that could watch the child if she needed.
Because my child would be sleeping.
That's what you do when you work.
When I go to work, my child would be sleeping.
Okay. Ms. Williams, any other witnesses you wanted to present?
Not at this moment, but I want to say right now that clearly you guys aren't taking into the consideration that when she went down there, he didn't contact her for only 4 times. I literally call my daughter almost every single day.
You know what's absolutely crazy? This idiot did not realize that one, her crying does not work. And you keep talking about him not talking to her while she was in Florida. Do you not understand she wasn't even supposed to be in Florida anyway? He has court-ordered scheduled visitations that you completely ignored. And you did that by sending her to Florida with your mother. She's not supposed to be talking to him on the phone. He's supposed to be able to pick his daughter up, and you violated his rights. While still collecting child support from him this whole time, she should be paying that money back.
There might be a day here and there that I don't contact her because I'm tired, because I work all the time, but I still make an effort to call my daughter. And even when on most days I talk to her 4 or 5 times a day, I still make an effort to talk to my child every single day.
It sounds more and more like it's more work and the attitude adjustment than any medical condition that led to the child living with your mother, though.
No, it's not.
Well, okay. Mr. Gold, anything else you want to present?
No, thank you.
Any closing arguments?
Your Honor, I think it's clear that in this instance, for whatever reason, whether it's medical, whether it's work, whether it's an attitude adjustment, or for whatever reason, mother is not capable of caring for the child at this time. She also wasn't able to care for the child at the beginning of 2022. Dad was able to step up at that time, took care of her. He made sure that schooling was taken care of. He made sure that the medical was taken care of. And he's simply asking that if mom is not able to care for the child, custody revert to him so that he's happy to abide by any parenting time schedule. I think mother should have visits. I don't know that they need to be supervised at this point. But I would say the standard schedule, alternating weekends. Emma needs to come back to Michigan so she can see both of her parents and she can thrive in what she's already familiar with. She can live at the home with father and his girlfriend, who she's also familiar with. There's no indication on the record, or there's no substantial evidence that would show that he has been unfit to care for her during those time periods. She argues that she calls her child every day and dad does not. She's the one that sent the child to Florida because she's not able to take care of him or take care of Emma. Dad is able to take care of her.
But dad doesn't call her. Dad doesn't make an effort to even see her.
We would ask.
None of you understand.
I'll give you a chance to make your closing argument. Just be quiet for a minute.
And see, this is my frustration with this case. The whole time, she's been allowed to yell and scream and cut people off and do all this stuff. She's been very disrespectful. If I was over this case, I would have been kicked Honey Boo Boo out.
Who's Honey Boo Boo? Dude, you've never seen Honey Boo Boo? You better recognize.
Like, no, this woman is out of order.
As far as the contempt show cause, Your Honor, we're not looking for any substantial like fine or anything like that. I think the matter was we wanted Emma returned to Michigan so that father can continue to see her in some capacity. So, like I said, no fine, but mind is on the record. She was found in contempt for violating the order, but our end goal is a change in custody.
Ms. Williams, any closing arguments you want to make?
And this is how men play themselves. He's the one who had to go out and get a lawyer. And you have the lawyer sitting up here talking about he's not interested in a fine for her. Not only should he be going for custody, but he should be making sure that she is financially punished for what she did. We're talking about a man who's been paying her child support the whole time, and the child was either with him or with her mother.
None of you, I don't know why none of you see that before she even went to Florida, he didn't see her for 3 months. And now all of a sudden, because she went to Florida, now he wants to play dad again. How is that fair to this child? You're gonna make her come home and be what? Sad, depressed, angry? Because she has to come home? She's thriving in a school. She's doing what she needs to do. And now all of a sudden we're going to rip her yet again from another school. Because I hate to say it, this child should not be in first grade. There's no way She should be in first grade because I don't know how they passed her from kindergarten.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Mr. Gould, on behalf of this client, filed a motion regarding custody, parenting time, and support. Also, a show cause was filed. The law is somewhat unclear, I guess, on the necessity for his permission to change the domicile of the child when one parent has sole legal custody. That's certainly true that permission is not required to move more than 100 miles in Michigan, which normally it is required if one party wants to change the child's legal residence with joint legal custody. Case law is a little bit less clear on whether that same permission is needed or not to move the domicile out of state. I'm not sure about the situation with grandma right now. Maybe it may be just fine. However, as I've indicated, this is not decided between a third party and a parent. This is decided between the parents. And I don't even get to the point where I can consider third parties for custody, as I've stated, unless either parent is determined to be incapable of or unwilling to raise a child, or both parents are considered to be unfit. And I'm not making that finding at this time. So at this point, the child custody factors would be analyzed by preponderance of evidence. The testimony, and Ms. Williams was given ample opportunity to present any testimony she wanted. Her testimony didn't necessarily consist of a lot of things that could be plugged into the 12 child custody factors. Mr. Hughes did. So the first factor comes down to essentially a bond between the parent and the child, whether who the child's bonded with, who the child goes to with problems. Does a parent relate to a child? Things like that. Specifically, the law says the love, affection, and other emotional ties existing between the parties involved and the child. And Mr. Hughes testified about his relationship with the child, the fact that they do things together. They go to, they play outside, they ride the quad, they go to the trampoline park, they go on trips together, they go to the lake, he reads books to her, he prepares cereal and school lunch, the lunches at school, but dinner's prepared for her. And I would find him in favor on that factor. The second is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to give a child love, affection, and guidance, and continue raising the child in the child's original and to continue educating the child. It appears that, I don't know where the child really went to school from for the fall of 21 or the fall of 22 up until she moved in with her grandmother. But it sounds like he provided schooling for the child for the second semester anyway of the last school year. When the child was residing with him, it sounds like there was some issue with the threat. It sounds like that was dealt with. He noted some behavior issues, so he made himself a presence in the child's school. He said that improved things. He said at home she was just fine. And for those reasons, I would find him in favor on factor 2. Factor 3 is the capacity and disposition of the parties to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care, and other care recognized under the laws of the state. Mr. Hughes testified that the child has food and clothing in his care, and those necessities aren't in question, and I would find him in favor on that factor. The next factor is the length of time the child has lived in a stable, satisfactory environment. As I've indicated, the child appears to have moved around a fair amount, and hopefully that's not going to become a problem as time goes on or in the future. It sounds like Dad was really ready, willing, and able a year ago to provide care for the child on an extended basis. It sounds like it doesn't sound like the mom, Ms. Williams, is really capable of raising the child on a consistent basis. Child was with both of them, then with mom for a short period of time, then with Dad for 4 or 5, 6 months, and then with mom for the summer, and now with grandma for what was presumed was going to be the school year. So it doesn't sound like Ms. Williams really has the either the capability or the interest to provide long-term care for for this child, and I find in favor of the father on that factor. Fifth factor is the permanence of a family unit in either home. Sounds like Ms. Williams lives with a friend and Mr. Hughes lives with his girlfriend. So that factor is not really relevant, I guess. The moral fitness of the parties involved, I didn't hear anything that would cause me to believe that either of them were immoral or that they had a criminal record or abuse neglect record that would affect their ability to parent. So I wouldn't consider that factor. Mental and physical health of the parties involved. I heard three different reasons why Ms. Williams was not able to raise the child on a steady and consistent basis. I heard she works too much, that the child needed an attitude adjustment, and that she had health issues. So that would certainly impact that factor. And really her mental health, I guess. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. Her behavior on the record was a little bit out of the ordinary. And her testimony or statements consisted mostly of yelling and not really just calmly and coolly presenting evidence. And so I'm not really 100% sure what's going on there, but certainly it appears that that there might be some issues going on, and I would find in favor of Mr. Hughes on that factor. Child's homeschool and community record. I didn't hear a whole lot about the homeschool or community record from Ms. Williams. Mr. Hughes, however, testified that the child did well in school when with him. She was recommended to be passed on to the next grade. I guess it would have been nice to see some attendance records for that period of time to establish the exact date she was in his care. I didn't have that to consider, but I guess she was in kindergarten then and she's in first grade now, so it must have been a recommendation that she move on. So I'd find it in favor of Mr. Hughes on that factor. Next factor is the child's preference, and I don't know what the child would tell me. She might say she wants to live with grandma, she might say mom, she might say dad. Really, it's not going to be relevant at this point. And I don't like to say that because I think kids should have a chance to have some input in these things, even though it's not usually enough to overcome substantial amounts of evidence to the contrary. But I guess I'm assuming that the only real options here are between Ms. Ratton and Mr. Hughes, and that Ms. Williams' house isn't really an option. So, that for the reasons I've stated regarding third-party custody, I guess the child's preference or in-camera child interview isn't really necessary. So that's not going to be considered at this point. The next factor is, it's a long one, but it comes down to the ability of the parents to co-parent. And it sounds like when left to their own devices, they co-parent okay. I mean, mom was having an issue. She needed to lean on dad for a place to live for a while. And he moved her in. It's his parents' house, but he moved her in for a couple different periods of time, it sounds like. And then mom needed help with the child at the beginning of last year. And dad stepped up and he took the child under his wing and provided care for her for the rest of the school year. And then when mom wanted her back, he gave her back. And they saw the child for whatever periods of time in the meantime. And the child was with the other parent. So it sounds like they can co-parent when they have specific operating instructions, maybe. But then this issue with the child being sent off to Florida through a monkey wrench and things, and so I'll find the parties equal on that factor. The next factor was domestic violence. It didn't appear there was none testified to anyway, so that factor wouldn't be considered. Any other factor that the court feels is relevant, certainly the child being moved off to live in Florida is relevant with the third party over the objection of the parent who was the father. He has not agreed to that. He's not been found to be unfit, so his opinion has to be considered. And an order can't be entered contrary to that opinion unless the court were to make that unfitness finding over his objection. And I've said 3 times now, I think, I'm not making that finding. So at this point, Mr. Hughes will be granted sole physical custody of the child. The parties will be granted joint legal custody of the child. The child will be returned back to Michigan and in Mr. Hughes' care. Ms. Williams, to the extent she's able, will be afforded reasonable parenting time pursuant to front of the court reasonable parenting time policy. And I need some more information to determine a child support obligation here.
So there it is. The father has sole physical custody of the kid. They have joint legal custody. Honey Boo Boo is probably about to have another meltdown. The father is making $17.67 per hour, working 40 hours per week. And outside of his daughter with this woman, he has a son who's also 7 years old. They're the same age, from a whole nother woman. We have to keep watching though, because right now they're about to discuss money.
Who's typically claimed this child for a dependent on tax time?
I have, but I've always given Kristen most of that money for having me claim her.
No, you do not. Don't even lie.
I'm not
Well,
lying.
if an order doesn't determine it, then it would be the party who has the child the majority of the time would be the party who would claim the child. So I'm going to put that in Dad's column. You had the child for 6 months of last year.
No, my mom
Got
should claim
custody
her.
going forward.
No, my mom should claim her.
No, your mom's not going to claim her. Mr. Hughes is going to claim her. He's the parent. He had the child for the first 5-6 months of the year.
No, he didn't.
And you had the child for some period of time.
Listen.
Your Honor, could I say something just real
No,
quick?
no,
My phone's
no.
gonna die. I just need real quick. Just my phone's about to die. Is there any way we can wait till the end of the school year to send her back to Michigan so she doesn't have to change schools again?
No, she shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been changed down there in the first place. I guess if Mr. Hughes agrees to that, that's fine. But I'm getting the idea that he doesn't. So that's.
Then he better figure out a way to bring her home.
When I say I am sick and tired, and yes, I said tired, I'm sick and tired of this little whiny Karen right here. She is so annoying. No, you're going to bring her back to Michigan because you're the one who took her down there. In 2 different court sessions, they already established that you violated the order. You really should be in jail right now.
Ma'am, how much do you make in your position at your work? Where do you work? How many hours a week?
Between 32 and 40.
You have minor children. How many minor children do you have in addition to this child?
3.
3 total or 3 more?
3 more.
And do you claim those children for tax purposes?
We split years between my younger 2, and then my son's dad claims him.
And sir, do you claim your son or not?
No, his mom does.
He doesn't even see his son.
The nerve of this deadbeat. She's constantly questioning his parenting when she has 4 kids from 3 men, and now at this point she has custody of none of them. This woman is a 4-time baby mama, and you have none of your kids? And by the way, she's making $13.50 per hour. The gravy train is over.
Either of you have health insurance on the child?
He has Medicaid.
Florida Medicaid at the moment.
Do child support real quick. All right, utilizing the incomes provided in the overnights effective January 1st, Ms. Williams would be ordered to pay $213 a month support, 15 ordinary medical, total of $228 per month. And Mr. Hughes' support would be set to 0, obviously, at that time. He'd be the recipient of support. Child's be turned over to Mr. Hughes within 7 days. Anything
He's
further
gonna
from
have to. He's
What's
gonna
that?
have to find a way to come get her, Your Honor. My husband and I both work full time. I've got no way to bring her back.
Are you able to meet halfway?
It would depend on the time. I've got, I get like 3 days off, and then I go back to another job.
Are weekend? My client's available to drive on the weekend.
My weekends are when I work. I work for a food vendor. We work at art festivals.
Your husband as well?
I guess we can try to figure something out. Like I said, my battery is really going to die. You guys are probably going to lose me any second. But go ahead, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just don't have a way to bring her totally back to Michigan.
I get that. I mean, a situation has been created here against Mr. Hughes' interest, and to require him to drop everything to travel to Florida to pick up a child that shouldn't have been there in the first place.
He did.
At least not for this long. He addressed this right off the bat. He filed his first paperwork back in the beginning of November, as soon as this whole deal went down. He should have been the one who was asked.
But he didn't contact his daughter. He may have contacted the courts, but at that time, he was not in contact with his daughter.
And now her mama is talking stupid. So now we're seeing exactly where she got it from. You're the one who took her down to Florida. You had no right to do so either. It's been discussed throughout this whole case that you are a third party. So basically, you kidnapped her. Everything she's talking right now is just sounding like blah, blah, blah. They should be financially responsible and physically responsible for bringing this kid back to Michigan. And even for the attorney to suggest that he should meet halfway, what are you talking about? He didn't go halfway to bring her down there.
Okay.
But regardless, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You.
So whatever's easiest on him, Mr. Hughes, what's the quickest you can maybe meet halfway to pick the child up or go get the child?
Meet halfway tomorrow.
I can't do it tomorrow.
It's gotta be a weekend because I work Monday through Friday.
Well, I'm at work right now until Monday.
I mean, I can talk to my boss and see if I can take a couple days off to drive halfway down there, but that's me losing money.
Ms. Williams, what about you? I mean, you're kind of responsible for creating this whole situation. What can you do to help get the child back sooner rather than later?
I have no way to go get her. My car's not going to make it to Florida. There's no way.
Your Honor, we were brainstorming. Maybe my
she's
client
not
is willing to
flying-
fly down to Florida and
she's-
pick up Emma and bring back, but there's the cost of the plane ticket.
She's not flying from Florida back home by herself. No.
This woman is a complete idiot. And obviously she's too dumb to understand that that's not what he just said. He said that he will fly to Florida to go and pick her up. That means when your daughter is getting on the plane, he'll be getting on the plane with her.
Right. I suggested
he would fly down there and
pick
get
her
her.
up.
Well, I can't upfront money for him to fly to Florida because I pay $325 in child support on my son, and now you want me to pay him $215 a month? Like, that leaves me with nothing to support my other children at all.
Mhm.
But nobody cares that.
All right, so Mr. Hughes is going to fly down and get the child. Ms. Ratton, he'll let you know when he's going to be there and what time to have the child available for him. Ms. Williams will repay the amount that it costs for those flights within 6 months.
I don't think she should have to pay it all.
And I wish her mama would just be quiet. If you don't want your daughter to pay for it, then you pay for it. It was you and your daughter who came up with this plan to take this child away from her father in the first place. You thought this child belonged to you. Totally ignored the father. So the mama is out of order too. And I wish you would be quiet because we don't care what you're talking about.
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, if contempt proceeding is filed as a result of that, then we'll have a hearing on that. But at this point, that would be the order.
It's a lot that I saw in this case. Like, number one, the mother wasn't held accountable for violating the order and sending the child to Florida. She should have been locked up and fined for that. Number two, she was allowed to be disrespectful and yell throughout the entire hearing. She should have been arrested for that. Number three, she's been collecting child support for years from this man when she's lived with him on 2 different occasions for over 2 years. And the daughter also lived with him alone for half the year in 2022. She should have been ordered to refund that child support that she collected when the child was with him and her mother. And by the way, her mother is also a moron. She told the judge her mother will claim the daughter. No ma'am, the judge told her no. And then my final thought here, this woman is a 4-time baby mama with 3 baby daddies. No one ever questioned her like we didn't know about this until the end of the case. The fact that she didn't have any of her kids was enough to prove that she was unfit from the first time that she saw the female judge who called her delusional. This woman is mentally a child herself. She's allowed to do whatever without consequences. That's why she and her mama came up with that plan together to take the daughter to Florida. At the end of the day, I don't feel sorry for her. She's the one who did all of this. No one told her to send that child down there without the father's permission. If she hadn't done that, the father would have continued to take care of the daughter whenever she wanted him to, and he would have kept paying child support because he was never going to complain. He only complained whenever she moved the child thousands of miles away to Florida. And that's another thing, men have to stop allowing them to get over on them. They want to stay out of court, but trust me, whenever it's time for her to do it to you, she's going to do it. I'm going to leave all the links below if you missed any of the other 3 parts. I want to thank everybody in the comments who liked the videos and commented saying that they wanted to see this. So here it is. You got it. I think these are great lessons, a great case study for men who may be going through this situation, and also great prevention for younger men and younger women to avoid situations like this. You do not want to become a baby mama or a baby daddy because this can happen to you. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.